Japan in the late 1500s was a land awakening to a new light, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And among the thousands who embraced this faith, one man stood out with a voice so powerful, so pure, and so unbreakable that even death could not silence him. His name was Saint Paul Miki, a nobleman, preacher, a brilliant young Jesuit, and one of the greatest martyrs the Church has ever known. But his story isn't just a historical event. It is a mirror for us today, especially in this season of Advent, because Advent calls us to hope, but also to courage, to prepare for Christ, but also to stand firm in truth, to wait for God, but also to take up our cross. This is the story of faith that sang even on the cross. This is the story of the 26 Japanese martyrs. On the Feast of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary in 1549, Saint Francis Xavier and two other Jesuits arrived at the harbor of Kagoshima, becoming the first missionaries to enter Japan. Fewer than 65 years later, the Catholic faith was flourishing in Japan, with upwards of 300,000 converts. Of the people of Japan, Saint Francis Xavier said, "These are the best people so far discovered, and it seems to me that among unbelievers, no people can be found to excel them." The Jesuits were successful in their missionary activity within the highly civilized Japanese culture, because the members of the order respected the cultural norms, acted with great dignity and respect, and learned the language. In 1587, however, things began to change. The Buddhist monks were increasingly concerned about the growing number of Christians, causing political tension for the ruler of Japan, Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi and his predecessor had been friendly and welcoming to the missionaries, perhaps in large part because they saw befriending these Europeans as politically and financially advantageous. But because of new tensions, caused in part by some fanatical Christians, Hideyoshi outlawed Christianity, giving the missionaries 6 months to leave. Many remained, however, continuing their good work quietly, and Hideyoshi let them be. In 1593, Spanish Franciscans began to arrive. They took a more confrontational approach to conversion than the Jesuits did. Tensions continued to grow, and in 1597, the situation came to a head. A Spanish ship became shipwrecked off the coast of Japan, and Hideyoshi seized its merchandise. The angry captain spoke recklessly to Hideyoshi, threatening that the Spanish missionaries were sent to prepare for a Spanish invasion of the island. At that, Hideyoshi began to enforce his decade-old edict outlawing Christianity by arresting 26 Catholics, 6 Franciscan missionaries, 17 Japanese and Korean lay Franciscans, 3 of whom were young boys, and 3 Jesuits. The Jesuits were Brother Paul Miki, only months away from being ordained a priest, another brother, and a priest. Paul was born into an affluent Japanese family and became a Catholic when his whole family converted. At the age of 20, he attended a new Jesuit seminary in Japan and became a brother 2 years later. He spent 13 years as a Jesuit, during which time he was known as a gifted preacher who helped convert many of his countrymen. When Brother Paul and his companions were arrested, they were tortured, had one of their ears severed, and were paraded 600 miles through many towns for 30 straight days, on display for all the people to see, to dissuade them from being Christian. When they arrived in Nagasaki, the center of Christianity in Japan at that time, the soon-to-be martyrs were permitted to go to confession one last time, chained to their crosses, secured with an iron collar, and lined up next to each other as 4 soldiers stood beneath them, each with spear in hand. During it all, Father Pacio, and Father Rodriguez kept encouraging the others. Brother Martin continually repeated, "Into your hands, Lord, I entrust my life." Brother Francis and Brother Gonsalvo prayed aloud in thanksgiving, and Brother Paul Miki preached his final sermon. His voice echoed across the hill. "I did not come from Spain. I am Japanese, and I belong to Christ. I forgive my persecutors. I welcome death for the sake of the gospel. Know that God's love is for all people, you too. Professing Jesus as the only way to salvation, forgiving his persecutors, and praying that they would turn to Christ and receive baptism." Brother Paul continued to encourage the others, and as they all awaited death, they were filled with joy and continually cried out, "Jesus, Mary!" Then, with one thrust of the spear and one blow, each martyr went home to God. Their blood soaked the earth, and the hill of Nagasaki became holy ground. But the church would later say, "The blood of the martyrs became the seed of Japan's faith." Over the next 250 years, hundreds of thousands of Christians were martyred, and many others were tortured mercilessly until they publicly renounced their faith. Despite this, pockets of Catholics remained and secretly practiced their faith. In 1854, Japan's borders opened to the West, and numerous missionaries returned to feed the faith of these hidden Christians. By 1871, religious toleration returned, making public worship possible. Today, a national monument marks the place of the executions in Nagasaki. Sometimes our attempts to share the faith with others appear to be silenced by the diabolical influences within the world. These martyrs of Nagasaki teach us that the seeds of faith can live on. The many martyrs that followed give witness to the power of God's grace and the transforming character of His Word. How strong is your faith? Is it strong enough to endure torture and death? Allow the witness of these saints to inspire you to be more fervent. Thank you for journeying with me into the story of Saint Paul Miki and the Japanese martyrs. Their courage echoes through the centuries, reminding us that faith is not a comfort, it is a calling. As we walk through Advent, may their sacrifice strengthen you. May their hope inspire you. And may their love lead you closer to Christ. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Stories of the Saints, where the lives of the holy continue to shine for our world today.